a lot of people heard about 911 before it happened. You heard some stories.
Yes.
You heard planes were going to be used. There were
Yes.
politicians all over America that were told not to fly on planes that month.
That's right.
I want to talk about the Israeli art students. You must know about that, right?
I heard the story. I really don't want to even give it a credibility because I don't know much about it.
Okay.
And I don't know. I know one thing. Let me just say one thing. The United States were totally complacent at the time. They did not believe that it will happen here. They were warned by Israel, by England, by Germany, by many countries who got chatter of information from the Middle East that something big is going to happen in the United States. You know that even American FBI agents have written to their superiors. There are people training to take off, to fly a plane, not to take off and not to land, things like that. There was enough there in a normal time for a government agency to say something is going on, we have to mobilize. Right. Haven't happened here. And what really the obvious thing it was at the time, they didn't believe in terrorism in the United States. If you go back to the FBI at the time, the agency that is in charge of securing our borders and the internal security, they had less than a handful of people who speak Arabic or Farsi. That's not enough if your enemy comes from the Middle East. For the last 50 years, all terrorists came from the Middle East. So it was obvious you needed more people if you were about to listen to chatter, if you're about to read material, if you're about to interview people who enter the country, you need more than 4 or 5 people. So clearly the government was not geared to, even if you hand them a clear information. Israel was worried at the time, which they always worried, that some of those operations that are floating would be directed at Jewish communities, at Jewish synagogues, at Israeli companies, El Al, whatever it is. So Israel notoriously has agents that their job is to operate in friendly or foe countries, just to keep an eye on Middle Eastern communities that are notoriously very much against the West, against America, against Israel. And there's no doubt that there were Israeli teams at the time in America who were monitoring the activities of various terrorist networks, as they have done in the past and probably will do in the future. We are not relying on anyone else except ourselves in Israel. And there is a possibility that they were monitoring and very close. And that's why Israel had information that they were giving the American government specific information. There will be an attack in North America within the next 30 days. There will be a hijacking of aircraft, and those aircraft will be used as flying bombs. That was available at the time. No one took it seriously.
Or they didn't want to take it.
Or they didn't want to take it seriously. But that's a speculation. I don't know. I mean, I don't know enough.
I'm surprised you didn't read the report, because, you know, it was put on the internet.
Oh, I read the report.
I find it very, you know, and
I read all the
I
reports.
was very suspicious when I saw this published on Salon. Here's supposedly a 50-page top secret DEA report appearing on the internet, and it stays up. It doesn't even come down.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah.
You see, I believe all those reports, because there were a lot of them that surfaced at the time.
Right.
Again, no one took it seriously. Now, you're suggesting maybe there was a motive behind not taking it seriously, but
Well,
all I'm saying, they could be. I'm not arguing with you. All I'm saying to
Iraq
you...
is Israel's biggest enemy, and they're invaded right after the incident. So there's a who benefits?
Who benefits out of it? But you know, if you look back, Israel was never shy of bombing the Iraqi nuclear facilities. Israel had a plan for years to take down Saddam Hussein. Israel could have done it. He was traveling almost on a daily basis, on an evening basis, going from Baghdad to a little town outside to one of his mistresses. There's only one road that he was traveling every night. Israel had a big plan for years. If it was so important to do that, Israel could have done it, didn't need America to invade Iraq for it. I think it's a combination of what America wanted at the time. Bush had his own plans and motives of going there. The truth may come
Do you
out.
believe the buildings fell down without explosives?
I know that there could have been explosives down there because there were a lot of secret agency stockpiles in the building that shouldn't have been there. The Secret Service had a big office there. Presumably there were explosives there. The city special forces piled up some stockpiles there. So it could have very well be that the building was burning and it leaked down and then.
But you don't think it was wired?
I'm not an expert
Too big,
in.
too
It's
big,
too big.
too big.
It's too big. It's too big, and it's you can't hide it. Today with you see with Google, with the internet, with CNN, those are things you can't really hide. There are too many cameras facing the building when it collapsed. If there was anything looking like an explosion, that, believe me, that would have been studied.
There's about 400 architects and engineers who signed a petition saying that they believe that because the steel girders, some of them were pushed 100 yards, that
Yes.
this could not happen without explosives.
I agree, but what I'm suggesting is that
Those bombs were just part of the...
part of the stockpiles that were
Stockpiles.
parked there and
Right.
shouldn't have been there. And nobody's talking about now because they would be blamed. If God forbid the Secret Service would come out and say, "Oh, sorry, we forgot. We had 2 tons of explosives there for whatever reason that we are stockpiling it," they would have been blamed for the whole building.
Right.
So everybody's covering up. America is great at covering up. Whenever you look at major disaster, everybody's covering up. First, they cover up,
Right.
and that's another cover up.
So, urban moving systems was discovered in a white van that had checked positive for carrying explosives, and they were caught videotaping the collapse from their van in Liberty Park, and it just seems like they must have had prior knowledge, if not involvement.
They could have had prior knowledge as a team that was surveilling, knowing that something may have happened. I personally am not aware that anyone that I spoke with at the time that had good information that led to 9/11, that they knew that the Twin Towers were a target. They knew aircraft will be hijacked and it will fly into buildings. I think everybody assumed White House, more Washington, and so on. There was no information, specific information, leading prior to it that I know of into the Twin Towers. If somebody else had it, that's possible, but I don't know of it.
Okay.
I know definitely that, again, the idea that there was a plan to do something big in North America using aircraft was widespread.
Right. The number one target for you guys was a protected asset of the CIA.
Apparently later we found out, yes.
So he was the really bad guy that needed to go down.
He was a number one on the list. He was protected by the CIA for a long time. He then went and lived in Damascus, and then finally Israel got him. Yeah.
That scene that's in the movie where you're on the street corner and
that's true.
The agents push you
That's
guys
true.
aside. That's
true.
The way it went down.
Yeah, that's the way it went down. He was very well protected, and at times when we were looking for him, he was living on a little boat on the Potomac in Washington. We only learned later on that he was here in Washington.